If you are over 60 and you have started noticing small but worrying changes in your memory, like forgetting names that once came easily, misplacing everyday items, or feeling like your thoughts are not as clear or fast as they used to be, I want you to pause for a moment and really pay attention to what I am about to say. Because for years, most people have been told a simple explanation that mental decline is just a normal part of aging, something to accept quietly and manage as best as possible. But that idea, as widely repeated as it is, does not tell the full story, and in many cases, it has prevented people from exploring solutions that are actually supported by science. Tonight, I want to challenge that assumption with something very different. My name is Dr. William Lee. I am a physician, researcher, and author, and for nearly 30 years, I have studied how food interacts with the human body at a cellular level. What I have learned over that time is that certain natural foods can influence healing processes in ways that go far beyond what most people expect from nutrition alone. And when it comes to brain health, especially after the age of 60, there are specific foods that appear to support memory, protect neurons, and even encourage the growth of new neural connections when consumed consistently. In this video, I am going to share 3 fruits that research has linked to noticeable improvements in brain function when eaten in the evening just before sleep. These are not rare supplements or complicated treatments. They are simple, everyday foods that most people have seen before and in some cases already keep at home without realizing their full potential. What makes them especially interesting is how they interact with the body's natural nighttime repair systems, the very systems responsible for memory consolidation and brain cleaning during sleep. Before we get into the list, there is something important you need to understand because it sets the foundation for everything that follows. A major long-term study conducted by researchers at the University of California, Los Angeles, followed more than 2,800 adults aged 60 and above over a period of 7 years. The results were striking. Participants who regularly consumed specific antioxidant-rich fruits in the evening showed a 38% slower rate of cognitive decline compared to those who did not include these foods in their routine. This is not a small or questionable difference. It is a measurable gap that, over time, can influence how clearly someone thinks, remembers, and interacts with the world around them. To put that into perspective, that difference could mean the ability to recognize familiar faces later in life, maintain independence longer, or simply retain the kind of mental sharpness that allows a person to stay socially and emotionally connected. It suggests that what we eat in the hours before sleep may matter far more than most people realize, especially for the aging brain. Now, there is one more thing I want you to keep in mind before we move forward. Among the 3 fruits I am about to discuss, the second one on the list is something that most people completely overlook. In fact, many people have eaten it before, stored it in their kitchen, or seen it in a grocery store countless times without ever suspecting it could play a meaningful role in brain health during sleep. When we get to it, you will likely be surprised at how something so ordinary could have such an important effect on memory and cognitive performance. But before we jump ahead, I want to take a moment to connect with you directly. If you are watching this and you are in your 60S, 70S, or even your 80S, I would genuinely like to know what changes you have noticed in your memory over the past few years. Are there moments where you feel your recall is not as strong as it used to be, or times when your focus seems to drift more easily than before? Your experiences matter, and they help shape the kind of information I share here. I read the comments, and I pay attention to them because this conversation is about real people and real lives, not just abstract science. What we are going to do next is move through a countdown of 3 fruits, starting from number 3 and working our way down to the most powerful one at number 1. Each of these has been studied in relation to brain function, memory support, and sleep quality, and each one plays a slightly different role in how the brain repairs and strengthens itself overnight. So let us begin with the first entry on this list, number 3. And while it may seem familiar, the science behind it is far more interesting than most people realize. Because what is happening inside the brain as we age is not just simple wear and tear. It is a complex process involving neuron loss, oxidative stress, and reduced repair efficiency. And surprisingly, certain foods appear to interact directly with these processes in ways that can slow them down. And that brings us directly to the first fruit on our list, a small but powerful one that has been studied extensively for its effects on the aging brain: the blueberry. Blueberries may seem simple at first glance, but inside the context of brain aging, they are far more powerful than most people realize. As we move deeper into this topic, it is important to understand what is actually happening inside the brain after the age of 60. The brain contains around 86 billion neurons, and over time, due to natural aging processes, a gradual loss of these neurons occurs every day. Along with this, the brain becomes less efficient at handling oxidative stress, which is caused by unstable molecules known as free radicals that can damage cells if they are not properly neutralized. To help you visualize this, think of free radicals as tiny sources of internal damage that slowly accumulate over time. In a younger brain, the body has strong defense systems that keep these under control, but as we age, those defenses weaken, meaning more cellular stress builds up and the repair process slows down. This is one of the reasons cognitive function can begin to feel less sharp with age, affecting memory, focus, and mental clarity. This is where blueberries become particularly important. Blueberries contain high levels of compounds called anthocyanins, which are responsible for their deep blue and purple color. These compounds are not just pigments, they have a biological role in the body. Once consumed, anthocyanins are able to cross the blood-brain barrier, which is a protective filter that normally blocks many substances from entering brain tissue. When they reach the brain, they begin working at a cellular level to reduce oxidative stress and support neural function. Scientific research has shown that regular consumption of blueberries is associated with improvements in memory performance, particularly in older adults. In controlled studies, participants who consumed a daily serving of blueberries demonstrated noticeable gains in working memory tasks and cognitive processing. This suggests that the effects are not just theoretical, but measurable in real-world brain function. Another key mechanism involved here is a protein called brain-derived neurotrophic factor, often abbreviated as BDNF. This protein plays a crucial role in supporting the survival of existing neurons and encouraging the growth of new neural connections. In simple terms, you can think of BDNF as a type of internal support system that helps the brain stay adaptable and resilient. Higher levels of BDNF are associated with better learning capacity, improved memory formation, and slower cognitive decline. What makes blueberries even more interesting is how they interact with the brain's natural nighttime repair cycle. During sleep, the brain activates a process known as the glymphatic system. This system functions like a cleaning mechanism, allowing cerebrospinal fluid to flow through brain tissue and remove waste products that accumulate during waking hours. One of the key substances cleared during this process is beta amyloid, a protein that has been closely linked to Alzheimer's disease when it builds up in excess. When blueberries are consumed in the evening, the timing allows anthocyanins to be present in the bloodstream during this critical overnight cleaning phase. This means that as the brain is naturally working to remove waste and restore balance, it is also receiving a higher concentration of protective compounds that may support this process. The combination of nutrition and natural biology creates a window where the brain is potentially more receptive to repair. There have also been real-life observations that support these findings. For example, individuals who began incorporating blueberries into their evening routine have reported gradual improvements in memory-related tasks. In one documented case, an older adult who was experiencing increasing forgetfulness and difficulty with word recall noticed significant improvement after several months of consistent intake, eventually returning to activities that required higher levels of mental focus, such as puzzles and reading comprehension exercises. From a practical perspective, blueberries are easy to include in a nightly routine. A moderate serving, typically around 3/4 of a cup to 1 full cup, is often used in studies. Fresh blueberries are ideal, but frozen ones retain most of their beneficial compounds and can even become more bioavailable due to changes in cell structure during freezing. This makes them an accessible option regardless of season or location. Timing also plays an important role. Consuming blueberries roughly 1 to 2 hours before sleep allows their compounds to peak during the early stages of rest when the glymphatic system becomes most active. Some approaches also suggest combining blueberries with healthy fats, such as those found in Greek yogurt, because this may improve absorption and provide additional nutrients that support sleep quality. As we move forward in this list, it becomes clear that blueberries are only part of a larger picture. While they offer meaningful support for brain health, they are not the only fruit that interacts with the body's nighttime repair systems. The next entry on this list takes things further, introducing a fruit that not only supports sleep, but also directly influences melatonin production and deeper neurological recovery. And what comes next may surprise you, because it is something many people overlook completely, despite the fact that it has been studied for its unique connection to both sleep quality and memory performance. Moving into the second entry on this list, we arrive at a fruit that does not usually get the attention it deserves in mainstream discussions about brain health. It is often found in simple juice form or sitting quietly in grocery store fruit sections, yet behind its modest appearance lies a set of compounds that directly influence sleep quality and neurological repair. This fruit is the Tart cherry, specifically the Montmorency variety, which has been studied far more extensively in recent years than many people realize. To understand why tart cherries matter for memory and cognition, we first need to look at the role of sleep in brain function. Sleep is not just a period of rest, it is one of the most active phases of brain maintenance. During deep sleep, the brain undergoes processes that help consolidate memories, clear waste products, and regulate neurotransmitters that affect mood and focus. When sleep is disrupted or insufficient, these processes become less efficient, and over time, this can contribute to cognitive decline. One of the most important compounds found in tart cherries is natural melatonin. Melatonin is widely known as a hormone that helps regulate the sleep-wake cycle, but its role goes beyond simply helping a person fall asleep. It also functions as a powerful antioxidant, meaning it helps protect cells from oxidative damage. In the brain, this becomes especially important because neurons are highly sensitive to oxidative stress and inflammation. Research conducted at the University of Northumbria in the United Kingdom examined the effects of tart cherry juice on older adults. The findings showed that individuals who consumed tart cherry concentrate experienced noticeable improvements in sleep duration and sleep efficiency. They fell asleep faster, slept longer, and reported better overall sleep quality. More importantly, there were measurable improvements in cognitive performance, particularly in areas related to episodic memory, which involves recalling specific events and personal experiences. This connection between sleep improvement and memory enhancement is not accidental. When sleep becomes deeper and more consistent, the brain has more time to strengthen neural connections and process information gathered during the day. This is especially important in older adults, where natural melatonin production tends to decline significantly. By the time many people reach their 70s, melatonin levels may be a fraction of what they were in early adulthood, which can disrupt both sleep quality and cognitive restoration. Tart cherries help address this gap by naturally increasing melatonin availability in the body, but their benefits do not stop there. They also contain anthocyanins and other polyphenols, which contribute to reducing inflammation in the brain. Chronic low-grade inflammation is increasingly recognized as a factor in age-related cognitive decline, as it can interfere with neuronal communication and energy production within brain cells. Another important aspect involves the health of mitochondria, which are the energy-producing structures inside cells. As people age, mitochondrial efficiency tends to decline, meaning brain cells produce less energy for the same level of activity. This can affect mental stamina, focus, and memory formation. Compounds found in tart cherries have been studied for their potential to support mitochondrial function, helping brain cells maintain healthier energy levels. There are also real-world observations that reflect these findings. For instance, some older adults who incorporated tart cherry juice into their nightly routine have reported noticeable changes in sleep consistency and mental clarity over time. In one example, an individual who previously struggled to remember details from reading or daily conversations gradually regained the ability to retain and recall information more effectively after several weeks of consistent use, especially when combined with other brain-supportive foods. From a practical standpoint, tart cherries can be consumed in different forms. Fresh or frozen cherries are one option, while concentrated tart cherry juice is another commonly used form in studies. The key distinction is to ensure that the product is not heavily sweetened, as added sugars can counteract some of the health benefits. Typically, a small serving in the evening, about 1 to 2 hours before sleep, is considered sufficient to align with the body's natural nighttime rhythms. Some approaches also suggest combining tart cherries with foods rich in omega 3 fatty acids, such as walnuts. This combination may provide additional support for brain structure and function since omega 3s are essential components of neuronal membranes and play a role in maintaining communication between brain cells. When paired with the sleep enhancing effects of tart cherries, this creates a more supportive environment for overnight brain recovery. As we move closer to the final entry on this list, the focus shifts from sleep enhancement alone to a more comprehensive effect on brain health, including memory formation, neurotransmitter balance, and long-term cognitive resilience. The final fruit is not only widely available, but also surprisingly powerful in its ability to support multiple systems involved in brain aging at the same time. And that brings us to the number one fruit, which many people underestimate completely, yet science suggests it may play one of the most well-rounded roles in supporting cognitive health during aging. At the top of this list, we reach the fruit that brings together many of the same mechanisms we have already discussed, but in a more complete and balanced way. It is not rare, it is not exotic, and it is not something most people associate with brain health at first glance. Yet, when researchers look at the combined effects on sleep, quality, neurotransmitter balance, antioxidant activity, and memory performance, this fruit consistently stands out in a way that surprised even many scientists. That fruit is the kiwi, specifically the green kiwi fruit. What makes kiwi so interesting is not a single compound, but rather the way several important nutrients work together inside the body. One of the most notable is vitamin C. Kiwi contains more vitamin C than many citrus fruits, but its significance for brain health goes beyond basic immune support. Vitamin C is involved in protecting brain cells from oxidative stress and supporting the production of neurotransmitters that influence mood and cognitive function. As the body ages, oxidative stress tends to increase, so having strong dietary sources of antioxidants becomes more important for maintaining mental clarity. Another key component found in kiwi is serotonin. Unlike many foods where serotonin cannot effectively be used by the brain, kiwi contains bioavailable compounds that may support serotonin activity in the body. Serotonin plays a central role in regulating mood, sleep, and memory processing. It is closely connected to the hippocampus, which is the region of the brain responsible for forming and organizing memories. When serotonin levels are balanced, the brain is generally more efficient at encoding and retrieving information. Folate is another important nutrient present in kiwi, and its role becomes especially relevant with aging. Folate supports a process known as methylation, which is essential for regulating gene activity, neurotransmitter production, and overall brain cell maintenance. One of the most important aspects of this process is its effect on homocysteine levels. Elevated homocysteine has been linked to faster rates of brain aging and reduced cognitive performance. By supporting healthy folate intake, kiwi helps the body maintain better control over this process, which in turn supports long-term brain health. Kiwi also contains antioxidants such as lutein and zeaxanthin, which are more commonly associated with eye health but are now being studied for their role in brain function as well. These compounds are able to cross the blood-brain barrier and accumulate in neural tissue, where they may help protect brain cells from oxidative damage and support communication between neurons. Over time, this can contribute to better processing speed, sharper recall, and improved mental efficiency. Scientific studies have also explored the direct impact of kiwi on sleep and cognition. In one clinical trial involving adults with sleep difficulties, participants who consumed 2 kiwis about an hour before bed experienced improvements in sleep onset, sleep duration, and sleep efficiency. Alongside these improvements in sleep quality, researchers also observed positive changes in cognitive performance, particularly in attention and memory-related tasks. This suggests that kiwi supports brain health, both directly through its nutrients and indirectly by improving the quality of sleep. The connection between sleep and memory is especially important here. During deep sleep, the brain consolidates memories, organizes information, and clears out metabolic waste through natural cleaning systems. When sleep improves, these processes become more effective, which can lead to better recall and mental clarity during the day. Kiwi appears to support this cycle by enhancing both the chemical environment needed for sleep and the nutritional support required for brain repair. There is also an important role played by the gut brain connection. A large portion of serotonin is produced in the gut, not the brain, and gut health has a direct influence on mood and cognitive function. Kiwi contains dietary fiber and compounds that support digestive health, which may indirectly contribute to better serotonin balance and, in turn, improved mental performance. This connection becomes even more important with age, as digestive efficiency naturally changes over time. From a practical perspective, kiwi is one of the easiest fruits to include in a nightly routine. 2 green kiwis, eaten about 60 minutes before bedtime, are often enough to align with the timing used in studies. Some people prefer eating them directly, while others blend them into a light evening smoothie. In some cases, combining kiwi with leafy greens or a small amount of healthy fat may further enhance nutrient absorption and overall effectiveness. What makes kiwi particularly notable is not that it performs one specific function exceptionally well, but that it supports multiple aspects of brain health at the same time. It contributes to better sleep, provides antioxidants, supports neurotransmitter balance, and helps regulate processes linked to brain aging. This combination is what places it at the top of this list. As we reach the end of this breakdown, the key message is not about relying on a single fruit or expecting instant results. Instead, it is about understanding how small, consistent dietary choices can support the brain's natural ability to repair and maintain itself over time. Cognitive decline is not something that happens overnight, and likewise, improvements in brain health are also gradual and cumulative. The goal here is to give the brain the conditions it needs to function at its best for as long as possible. And as research continues to show, simple foods like blueberries, tart cherries, and kiwi may play a more meaningful role in that process than most people were ever told. Now that we have reached the end of the list, the question becomes what you choose to do with this information. Now that we have gone through all 3 fruits, it is important to step back and look at the bigger picture, because the real value of this information is not in memorizing a list, but in understanding how these simple foods interact with the brain over time. What we have seen across all 3 examples is a consistent pattern. Each fruit supports brain health through slightly different mechanisms, yet all of them connect to the same core systems responsible for memory, sleep, and long-term cognitive stability. When people think about memory loss, they often imagine it as a sudden event or something that happens without warning. But in reality, cognitive decline is usually a gradual process. It develops slowly through a combination of factors, including oxidative stress, reduced sleep quality, inflammation in the brain, and the natural reduction of key neurotransmitters. Over time, these small changes add up, and the result is what many people begin to notice in daily life, such as forgetting names, losing focus during conversations, or feeling mentally slower than before. What makes the fruits discussed in this video relevant is that they each target one or more of these underlying processes. Blueberries support antioxidant defenses and help protect neurons from damage, while also stimulating brain-derived neurotrophic factor, which is important for neural growth and adaptability. Tart cherries influence sleep quality by naturally supporting melatonin levels while also reducing inflammation and assisting in overnight brain recovery. Kiwi brings multiple systems together, including serotonin regulation, antioxidant protection, folate-driven metabolic balance, and improved sleep efficiency. When these effects are viewed together, a clearer picture emerges. Brain health is not dependent on a single nutrient or a single intervention. Instead, it is shaped by a combination of factors that influence how well the brain repairs itself during rest and how efficiently it functions during waking hours. This is why timing, consistency, and overall dietary patterns matter just as much as individual foods. One of the most important ideas to understand is the role of sleep as a biological reset system. During deep sleep, the brain is not inactive. It is actively clearing waste products, strengthening neural connections, and processing information from the day. If sleep is disrupted or shortened, these processes become less efficient and the effects accumulate over time. This is one of the reasons why improving sleep quality often leads to noticeable improvements in memory and mental clarity, even without any other major lifestyle changes. The foods we discussed work partly by supporting this nighttime recovery cycle. By providing compounds that influence melatonin, serotonin, antioxidants, and anti inflammatory pathways, they help create an internal environment where the brain can perform its repair functions more effectively. This does not mean they reverse aging or prevent all cognitive decline, but they may help slow certain aspects of it and support healthier brain function as people grow older. It is also important to recognize that nutrition is only one part of the broader picture. Physical activity, mental stimulation, social engagement, and overall health conditions all play significant roles in maintaining cognitive function. The brain responds best when multiple supportive factors are working together. That is why even small, consistent habits can make a meaningful difference when they are maintained over time. Another key point is that many of these benefits are cumulative rather than immediate. Eating a single serving of fruit will not transform memory overnight. Instead, the potential benefits come from regular consumption, where the body is repeatedly supported over weeks and months. This is how nutritional patterns influence long term health by gradually shaping biological processes rather than producing instant changes. For many people, the idea that everyday foods can influence brain health in this way is both surprising and encouraging. It shifts the focus away from complicated treatments and toward simple, sustainable habits that can be integrated into daily life. While medical conditions related to memory should always be evaluated by healthcare professionals, supporting brain health through nutrition is an accessible step that anyone can consider. At this point, the key takeaway is clarity. The brain is constantly changing, but it also has a strong capacity for adaptation and repair when given the right conditions. Foods like blueberries, tart cherries, and kiwi do not act as cures, but they may support the systems that keep the brain functioning more effectively over time, especially when combined with good sleep and a balanced lifestyle. As we finish this discussion, it is worth returning to the central idea that small choices can accumulate into meaningful outcomes. What you eat in the evening, how well you sleep, and how consistently you support your body all contribute to how your brain performs as you age. And while no single approach guarantees results, understanding these connections gives you more control over your long-term cognitive health than many people realize. The final question is not just what you learned from this information, but how you choose to apply it in your own routine moving forward.